Hey guys, welcome to the third episode of Darhan Talks. We're starting to talk about patient centricity. We've got Nirpal Verdi and Trishna Baradia. Trishna is the patient engagement consultant. She last spoke about the differences between patients, patient groups, and then the types of patient advocates you could have. So I'm going to ask you to do a quick recap, Trishna, and then talk about the third type of patient, and then talk about why there is what is the difference in agendas between patients and patient groups?
This is the Darhan Talks podcast, regulatory guy, irregular podcast with host Darshan Kulkarni. You can find the show on Twitter at Darshan Talks or the show's website at darshantalks.com.
So in terms of the different types of patients, I already spoke about the patient by experience, who is the vast majority of people. You're diagnosed with a condition, you just live with it day to day, and you have knowledge of your own experience with that condition. And you may be informed enough to manage it on a day-to-day basis, or you may not be informed at all, and you're essentially doing what the doctor tells you to do. And then you have your expert patient, who is knowledgeable about their own experience with their condition, but is also knowledgeable about the experiences and the issues that affect other patients within that particular disease area. And expert patients are, they're highly knowledgeable about the disease area. They may share information with their peers. And it's really expert patients are really a forerunner to what the third set of patients are, patient advocates, and they're the ones that I like to call the pro-patients. So these are advocates who have looked beyond their own disease area, and they are highly knowledgeable about not just their disease area, but also the issues that affect across patient communities. So I'm talking about issues like health literacy, use of technology within healthcare, patient engagement, engaging potentially with hard to reach communities. So they're issues that affect lots of different patient communities. Now, the pro-patients they're highly skilled, very informed, they are very well networked with lots of different stakeholders, and they can also offer a range of skills which you wouldn't necessarily be able to see or translate from, say your patient by experience. So I'm talking about skills like, you may have knowledge about policy making, about, clinical trial design and things like that. So that's your third group.
So now, before you go down the discussing the difference between patients and patient advocacy groups, I have a quick question there, which was, do you worry that these pro-patients, as you put them, they might be, for lack of a better term, going native in that they lose credibility since they're so deep with industry? Or do you think that that's not necessarily a concern?
No, I don't think that's necessarily a concern, because to be perfectly honest, industry needs the pro-patients, and pro-patients need to be there in order for that change to happen. You can't, I often say that you need these different types of patients depending on why you want to engage with them and what the purpose is of engaging with them. So if you have a pharma company that wants market insights, they want to know about the day-to-day living with a condition, then they can engage with any one of those three tiers of patients. However, if they want to know more about the patient community in general and the issues that are affecting the patient, that particular disease area, then you need to be looking at either the expert patient or the pro-patient. If you're looking at, overhauling your patient engagement strategy, then you need to be engaging with pro-patients, because if you talk about patient engagement strategy to your average person you pulled out of, say a diabetes clinic, they won't know what you're talking about. So you need to have those different patients there. And actually, it's not about losing credibility. Let's not beat about the bush. Always the elephant in the room is that pharma has a bad reputation amongst patients.
Right.
But actually industry in a way can capitalize on the reputation and the standing that patient advocates have to be able to, get rid of some of these myths that exist, help to improve the reputation. One of the things that I often ask when I'm engaging with pharma companies for projects is, can I tweet about it? Can I, I recently did a really great project actually with a pharma company. Am I allowed to mention the company? I don't know. It's all over my social media. So I did.
You're welcome to mention it if you want to, but if you have confidentiality agreements.
It was a completely public project, which it's all over my social media. So I did this project with Merck, where as part of their patient activities at ECTRIMS, which is the biggest MS medical congress globally, they put on this forum for patient groups. And this year, Merck approached me and they said, look, we really want to embed the whole patient engagement thing. We want to really walk the walk, and we would like you to co-lead on the project development. So I was involved right from the very start when it came to looking at the themes, trying to decide the speaker panel, the scripting. I co-facilitated on the night. All content that was produced, because obviously we were also working with an agency, all content that was produced went through me as well, so that we could make sure that the language was appropriate. So, one of the things that I had a real issue with was the use of the word patient. I said, no, anytime you want to use patient, can we please replace that with people affected by MS? And so things like that, really made a difference. But what was fantastic was that I was allowed to tweet about it. I was allowed to put it on my LinkedIn. I was allowed to put it on my Facebook. And it meant that, that was good for Merck, because, people who follow me on social media, people who engage with me, they trust me. I have a good reputation and standing within the patient community, and they know that I wouldn't take on a project that I don't believe in. So they know that if, for example, I've worked with Merck on this particular project, then actually that's, that's saying something, because I'm judging that project has been done, it's been done well, because otherwise I wouldn't have taken it on. So I think, industry in a way could capitalize on that in order to help, improve their reputation amongst, people who are living with conditions. Because at the end of the day, I always say that, industry needs the patients and patients need the industry. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, and the interesting thing though is it's always a balance with this is an very interesting and insightful breakdown of how we consider patients and the label patients and trying to personalize it more. So you are talking to them from a particular condition, if you like, but the danger is that you can become so expert that does that in itself introduce potential conceptions of bias? So if you think about how our industry generally has worked with key opinion leaders and all those sort of things, that's always been a tricky balance to get your experts in. But if you're trying to sort of get them on board to promote what the profile of your drug and what it does and those sort of things, it's always that balance of whether that is that then considered promotional, is it leading, and those sort of aspects, and that's I think what we try and battle a bit. But your experience, Trish, is not.
Nirpal, I'm gonna
actually.
I agree with you 100%, and that's sort of the big question we're answering. What I'd like to do with this second is maybe use this as the lead into our next podcast, the fourth piece of this what I was originally considering a trifecta, but we're already at the fourth piece. So stay tuned, listen in. We'll be talking further with Trishna and with Nirpal, and talk to you guys soon.
This is the Darshan Talks podcast, regulatory guy, irregular podcast with host Darshan Kulkarni. You can find the show on Twitter at Darshan Talks or the show's website at darshantalks.com.